They move cattle across hundreds of kilometers just to find grass. Every drop of water is precious. And just 11 people manage a ranch larger than some countries, cut off from the world with no towns in sight. They rely on each other. In this extreme isolation, it's teamwork that keeps them going. This is where Aboriginal knowledge meets solar pumps and satellite tech, where searing heat, dust, and distance shape every decision. This is Anna Creek Station, the largest working cattle ranch in the world. Subscribe to Digital Papyrus for true stories of ranches, cowboys, and rural life. From sheep runs to cattle empire, the saga of Anna Creek Station begins in the 1860s, in an era when intrepid pastoralists pushed into Australia's arid interior. The site takes its name from Anna Creek, a watercourse discovered in 1858 by explorer Colonel Peter Warburton, who named it after a pastoralist's daughter, Anna Chambers. In January 1863, a partnership of Julius Jeffreys, John Warren, and William Bakewell established the original Anna Creek Station, initially located at Strangway Springs, an area of natural springs along the overland telegraph route. These early years were defined by trial and error. The founders stocked the station with sheep, and by the mid-1860s, they grazed about 7,300 sheep on the sparse pasture. However, raising sheep in wild dingo country proved disastrous. Relentless dingo attacks decimated flocks, making sheep husbandry unsustainable in this unforgiving land. By 1872, the decision was made to relocate the homestead to its present site farther south, nearer to reliable water sources. Sheep were abandoned in favor of hardier cattle that could better withstand predators and the desert conditions. Under the management of John Hogarth, from 1863 to 1893, and later his brother Thomas Hogarth, 1893 to 1913, Anna Creek grew into a productive cattle station. Following the Hogarths, members of the Warren family took the helm, George Warren briefly, then his brother Francis Frank Warren until 1918. These were the decades of boom and bust. The station saw periods of prosperity and devastating drought, all while remaining extremely isolated from colonial urban centers. In 1918, Anna Creek Station changed hands, selling to Malcolm Reed and Leslie Taylor. Not long after, a seismic shift in ownership set the stage for Anna Creek's legendary status. In 1935, the property was acquired by the expanding empire of Sir Sidney Kidman, famously known as the Cattle King. Sidney Kidman had built a vast network of outback stations, and Anna Creek became a crown jewel in his holdings. Under Kidman's S. Kidman & Co., Anna Creek was run in conjunction with neighboring properties, like the Peak Station and Stewart's Creek, forming a giant pastoral block across northern South Australia. Kidman's strategy was innovative. He owned a chain of leases stretching across the continent so cattle could be moved along stock routes to find feed and water in times of drought. Anna Creek's water sources and sheer size made it a crucial link, allowing stock to be walked long distances to railheads or markets, grazing along the way. Through much of the 20th century, the station was managed by generations of the McLean and Nunn families on behalf of Kidman's company, an association that continued for over 100 years. Fast forward to the 21st century. By the 2010s, Anna Creek was still owned by S. Kidman & Company, but big changes were on the horizon. In 2016, the Kidman Empire was up for sale, attracting global attention. Anna Creek's immense size and location, partly overlapping a military weapons testing range, even prompted Australian government intervention to ensure national interests were protected. The result was a historic deal. In December 2016, Anna Creek Station, along with its outstation, the Peak, was sold separately to an Australian family outfit, the Williams Cattle Company, for an estimated 16 million Australian dollars. This kept Anna Creek in Australian hands, while the remainder of Kidman & Company was sold to a consortium involving mining magnate Gina Rinehart and Shanghai CRED, a Chinese company, for the Williams family. acquiring Anna Creek doubled their land under lease overnight. They immediately announced plans to invest in the station's future, pouring resources into new water infrastructure and modern facilities to increase the herd and improve efficiency. Anna Creek Station's environment is as challenging as it is majestic. Sprawled across the outback of northern South Australia, the station encompasses a mix of landscapes, from rolling sand dunes and orange-red soil to flat gibber tablelands covered in pebbles, and even ephemeral salt lakes and swamps that appear after rare heavy rains. One picturesque corner of the property, known as the Painted Hills, reveals colorful banded sandstone formations, a reminder of ancient inland seas that once covered this land. But for most of the year, the scenery is dominated by sparse grasses, hardy acacia shrubs, and endless horizons under a pale blue sky. This terrain lies deep in the outback interior, far from any city. The nearest settlement is the tiny hamlet of William Creek, population just about 10 people when the station crew is around, which is actually encircled by Anna Creek Station's boundaries. William Creek's pub and roadhouse are a welcome sight for workers seeking a cold drink or travelers venturing along the Oodnadatta track. The nearest larger town is Coober Pedy, an opal mining town about 160 kilometers west of the homestead, which serves as the station's main supply and freight hub. Reaching even these nearby outposts means hours of driving on remote dirt roads. Isolation defines life here. Mail is delivered only twice a week by a bush mail-run service out of Coober Pedy, which also doubles as a freight carrier for essential goods. Until recently, communication with the outside world was limited to radio. Today, satellite internet and phones connect the homestead to civilization, though outages and latency are part of the bargain. The climate at Anna Creek is one of extremes. The station sits on the edge of the Simpson Desert and Lake Eyre Basin, one of the driest regions in Australia. Average rainfall is a scant 140 millimeters, 5.5 inches per year, and it's not unusual for months to pass with virtually no rain. Drought is a constant specter. During the severe 2000s drought, the land was so parched that the station could support only a fraction of its cattle herd. Then, in rare years, monsoonal rains or cyclonic remnants can sweep down from the tropics, transforming the desert. Dormant seeds burst into life, ephemeral lakes fill, and grasslands briefly flourish in a carpet of green. These boom and bust cycles dictate everything on Anna Creek. Heat is another formidable challenge. In summer, daytime highs commonly range from 40 to 45 degrees Celsius, and record temperatures in the region have reached a blistering 50.7 degrees Celsius, one of the hottest ever recorded in Australia. Even at night, the heat can linger, with warm winds blowing over the plains. Such extreme heat means humans and animals alike must adapt or perish. Water evaporates almost as fast as it falls, and surface water is virtually non-existent for most of the year. Because vegetation is so sparse, the station's carrying capacity, the number of livestock the land can sustain, is very low relative to its huge area. Stocking rates here might be on the order of 1 cow per several square kilometers of land. In fact, Anna Creek's 5.8 million acres support around 10,000 to 17,000 cattle in good seasons, whereas a ranch of even 1/7 the size in lusher country can carry a larger herd. One news report quipped that Anna Creek is as tall as the Netherlands and as wide as Wales, yet only a handful of people and cattle wander its expanse. The aridity and poor grazing mean size is survival. Only a massive land area with widely dispersed livestock can make pastoralism viable here. As an Anna Creek mustering pilot explained, due to the low level of grass, a large surface area is required to keep up with grazing needs for thousands of cattle. In other words, the station's giant size is not about excess, but necessity in this desert ecosystem. Finally, the remoteness of Anna Creek adds an emotional and logistical challenge. Station residents are hours away from medical facilities. The Royal Flying Doctor Service is a vital lifeline for emergencies. And simple errands or social visits involve long drives. Newcomers often experience a jarring sense of isolation. We hear from Sarah, a young Canadian who spent a season working on Anna Creek. I thought I was prepared for the remoteness, but the first few weeks took some adjusting. I was across the world on my own. Things will go wrong sometimes, and there will be bad days, she admits. Over time, however, many come to appreciate the profound solitude and sweeping silence of the outback nights, where the stars blaze in an ink-black sky. It takes a certain kind of person to call a place like this home's. Resilient, self-reliant, and resourceful, yet also attuned to the rhythms of nature. These qualities shine through in how the station is run day to day. Life on the station, daily work, cattle operations, and technology. A herd of Santa Gertrudis cattle gathers at a watering trough on Anna Creek Station. Managing water points like this is critical in a land where rain is scarce. Running a cattle operation the size of a small country requires a blend of old-fashioned grit and modern innovation. At Anna Creek Station, a tiny team of about 11 people manages this vast property. The typical staff includes one station manager, about 8 stockmen and station hands, a mechanic, plant operator, and a cook. It's astounding to think that just a dozen people oversee an area larger than some U.S. states. With such a lean crew, everyone wears multiple hats. A stockman might spend the morning repairing a busted bore pump, the afternoon mustering cattle on a motorbike, and the evening helping the mechanic weld a broken windmill tail. The station's manager, currently a member of the Williams family, coordinates logistics, cattle sales, and maintenance of countless infrastructure spread across the property. It truly is a round-the-clock job. But as the workers often say with a smile, it's not just a job, it's a lifestyle. Central to that lifestyle is the care of the cattle herd. Anna Creek typically runs Santa Gertrudis cattle, a breed chosen for its tolerance to heat and drought. In peak times after good rains, the station can carry up to 15,000 to 17,000 head of cattle. In bad droughts, that number plummets. At one point in 2008, the station was down to only 1,500 head and had essentially destocked most of its paddocks to save the land and animals. The herd size fluctuates with the seasons, demonstrating a key principle of outback ranching: flexibility. The cattle roam in large pastures, paddocks, that can be hundreds or even thousands of square kilometers each. To keep cattle healthy, station workers must ensure reliable water sources across these expanses. Water points are life-sustaining oases in each paddock. These include bore-fed troughs, wells with windmills or solar pumps, and a few dams that catch rainwater runoff. The station taps the Great Artesian Basin, an ancient underground aquifer, by drilling bores that often flow to the surface. In the past, bores would flow freely into open earth drains, but modern practice is to cap and pipe the water into tanks and troughs, reducing waste and preserving pressure in the aquifer. The Williams family, upon taking over, invested heavily in upgrading water infrastructure, adding new pipelines and tanks so cattle could graze more evenly without overusing any one spot. Remote sensors and solar-powered pumps now allow the manager to monitor and control water levels in tanks from the homestead, a far cry from the old days of riding for hours just to check a well. One of the most dramatic aspects of station life is cattle mustering, the roundup of cattle for branding, sales, or moving to fresh pasture. In earlier times, Anna Creek maintained a large force of stockmen on horseback, and mustering could mean weeks of droving cattle over vast distances, with stock camps set up along the way. Today, the process has been revolutionized. The station employs light aircraft and motorbikes to accomplish what once took dozens of riders. A small fixed-wing plane, like a Cessna, or sometimes a helicopter is used to spot and flush out cattle from the air, covering ground far faster than any horse. When mustering with a plane, the idea is to fly behind the cattle, using the noise and presence of the aircraft to push them in the desired direction, explains an experienced aerial mustering pilot. From above, the pilot guides the stockmen on the ground via radio, effectively acting as a flying sheepdog. Meanwhile, teams of stockmen on motorbikes and 4x4 ATVs spread out below to drive the cattle into a mob and toward the yards. Because of Anna Creek's immensity, a single muster can be a monumental task. Some of the station's paddocks are so large they're bigger than entire other stations in Australia. One pilot noted it might take up to a week of flying and riding to muster one big paddock completely. During mustering season, the crew often camps out in the field for days at a time. They bring along a camp truck, essentially a mobile bunkhouse and kitchen, built into a shipping container, which provides basic shelter and cooking facilities for the drovers. A station cook prepares meals ahead of time, stews, curries, and fresh bread, frozen and loaded onto the truck to feed the hungry crew in the bush. At night, far from the homestead, the stockmen roll out their swags, bedrolls, on the ground and sleep under unbelievably bright stars with the sounds of cattle and crackling campfires in their ears. As one worker described, "Once I did my first week out at camp, I got used to it and I loved it. Life became simple, with no phone reception, and all we focused on was each other and the work." This camaraderie and isolation is a cherished aspect of station life. The crew forms a tight-knit outback family forged by long days of hard toil and shared triumphs when a muster goes well. Back at the homestead, life has its own routines. Early each morning, usually by 6 a.m., everyone gathers at the station workshop or yards after breakfast. The manager or head stockman gives a rundown of the day's plan, which boar needs fixing, which mob of cattle to muster or draft, or perhaps instructing a team to repair fences on a far-flung boundary. Given the station's size, teams often depart on Monday and won't return until Friday, working on remote sections through the week. Saturdays are usually for maintenance tasks at the homestead, servicing vehicles, checking inventory, maybe catching up on paperwork, and then a bit of relaxation. Come Saturday evening, it's not uncommon for workers to pack into a four-wheel drive and drive to William Creek's pub to blow off steam with a cold beer and swap stories with folks from neighboring stations. Every few weeks, someone makes the longer trip into Coober Pedy to pick up supplies, spare parts, mail, and maybe enjoy a treat like pizza before heading back to the ranch. Sundays are typically a day of rest, treasured after an arduous week, where sleeping in, doing laundry, and calling family, if the internet is cooperative. Amid this demanding work schedule, the station has embraced technology and mechanization wherever possible to ease the burden on its tiny workforce. Remotely operated pumps allow water management at the push of a button. The station's vehicles and machinery, from road trains, cattle trucks, to graders and backhoes, help maintain over 1,000 kilometers of station tracks and fence lines. Even routine chores like checking fence integrity or locating stray cattle have been aided by technology. Some stations are experimenting with drones for aerial surveillance and GPS tracking collars on cattle to monitor their movements. What used to take weeks on horseback can sometimes be done in hours with an aircraft or a well-coordinated team on dirt bikes. However, despite all the modernization, tradition remains strong at Anna Creek. Skills like horsemanship, while not the primary mode of work, are still valued. Horses are sometimes used in yards or for mustering in terrain where bikes can't go. The annual rhythm of the station follows age-old patterns: mustering and branding in the cooler months, maintenance and bore, drilling in the hot, dry times, and always keeping a weather eye on the horizon for storm clouds that might break the drought. The station community also keeps alive social traditions of the bush. Events like the Udnadata Bronco branding competition or the Mari Muster attract station hands from miles around when schedules allow. giving them a chance to show off their cattle handling skills and enjoy a bit of friendly rivalry. Through it all, the people of Anna Creek carry a deep pride. They are caretakers of a legendary station, living a life that outsiders might find unbelievably hard, but one rich in freedom and connection to the land. Trials and triumphs, drought, isolation, and the spirit of resilience. Life at Anna Creek Station has never been easy. Perhaps the greatest recurring challenge is drought, the old foe of Australian graziers. Historical records and living memory are filled with stories of extreme dry spells that turned the land to dust. In the Great Drought of 1864-66, only a few years after its founding, Anna Creek's stock barely hung on as waterholes evaporated. The station's sheep losses were compounded by dingo predation, pushing the early owners to their limits. In the late 19th and throughout the 20th century, severe droughts struck in the 1890s, the 1920s, and the 1960s, each time forcing destocking and hardship. The Millennium Drought of the 2000s was a stark, recent example. By 2007 to 2008, Anna Creek's pastures were so depleted that management had to remove almost all cattle. The station was carrying only about 1,500 head in 2008, down from 16,000 just a few years earlier. Photographs from that period show empty corrals and vast paddocks devoid of livestock, the soil bare and powdery as a dry wind blows. It was a time of agonizing decisions, selling off cattle at low prices, knowing some might not survive the trip out, or trucking in expensive hay from far away to feed core breeding stock kept on life support. Entire livelihoods depend on the whims of weather, and at Anna Creek, the stakes are immense. Yet those who live here are nothing if not resilient. They endure the bad years with stoicism and careful management, and celebrate the good years with a hard-won joy. After the Millennium Drought broke, the summer of 2010 brought extensive floods to outback South Australia. Claypans and creeks that hadn't seen water in decades were suddenly flowing. The rejuvenation was dramatic. By May 2011, the Anna Creek herd had built back up to around 10,000 head of cattle, and the station was green with herbage. In a truly abundant season, by 2012, they reached 17,000 head, near full carrying capacity, demonstrating how quickly the outback can recover when rain finally arrives. These boom times are fleeting, though, and wise station managers use them to prepare for the next inevitable bust. Water tanks are filled and new bores drilled. Extra feed or money is set aside. Infrastructure is repaired and strengthened while there's a chance. Isolation, as discussed, is another trial, not just logistically but mentally. The psychological challenge of living so far from the rest of the world can be significant. There are no quick trips to the cinema or shopping mall, no dropping by a friend's house down the street. For young station workers especially, the lack of social outlets can lead to loneliness. Homesickness is common for newcomers. Over time, many adapt by fostering a strong community on the station itself. The crew become close friends, almost family, supporting each other through tough days. They also make the most of occasional social events. Whether it's a Saturday night at the William Creek Hotel, a rodeo or race meet at a distant town, or even just a weekly video call with loved ones, thanks to the station's satellite link. In recent years, internet access and services like the School of the Air have alleviated some isolation. Station children, if any live on site, can attend classes via online sessions, and families can watch the latest news or football games beamed by satellite TV. These comforts, unheard of for most of Anna Creek's history, make outback life more sustainable for the long term. Labor and workload constitute another challenge. With only approximately 10 to 12 core staff, each person must be capable and hardworking. The days are long. 12-hour workdays are the norm during peak season, and even routine days easily stretch from dawn to dusk. Physical labor under a fierce sun, whether it's fixing a fence in 45 degrees Celsius heat, wrestling a 600-kilogram bull in the branding pen, or changing a tire on a bogged truck out in the mulga scrub, takes a toll on the toughest of individuals. Injuries can happen far from medical help. It is a testament to the training and caution of station crews that serious accidents are relatively rare, but everyone remains acutely aware of the need for safety and self-reliance. Senior workers teach newcomers the ropes, how to stay hydrated and avoid heat stroke, how to ride defensively on a motorbike over rabbit holes and washouts, how to handle a rattling venomous snake encountered in a boar shed, or how to read the behavior of cattle to avoid being charged by an irritable cow. The station's unwritten code is that everyone looks out for each other. If someone's late to a check-in, the others go find them. If a machine breaks in the field, help is dispatched. If a worker is struggling emotionally, mates lend an ear around the campfire. In spite of all these hardships, Anna Creek Station fosters a sense of pride and accomplishment that few other jobs can match. Conquering the challenges of drought, distance, and danger brings a deep satisfaction. As one station hand put it, "There were challenges every day, I won't sugarcoat it. But at the end of the day, watching a mob of cattle you mustered bed down on good feed, under a sunset no city could ever see, it's worth it." The station's continued operation, year after year, is itself a quiet triumph over adversity. Every healthy calf branded, every water bore kept flowing. Every successful season's end is a chapter in an ongoing story of human adaptability. The spirit that has kept Anna Creek alive is the same that built it, a blend of toughness, innovation, and optimism that tomorrow will bring new opportunities. Ancient custodians, Indigenous history, and traditional knowledge. Long before any ranchers rode into this country, the land that is now Anna Creek Station was home to the Arabana Aboriginal people. For countless generations, stretching back thousands of years, the Arabana and their forebears navigated these arid plains, knowing every waterhole, seasonal creek, and story etched into the landscape. The Arabana people's country covers a wide area around Lake Eyre, Kadithanda, and extends west towards the Oodnadatta Track and Coober Pedy. This includes the territory where Anna Creek Station operates. To the Arabana, this land is not an empty desert but a living cultural map, rich with songlines, sacred sites, and ecological knowledge passed down through oral tradition. European settlement was a profound upheaval for the Aboriginal custodians of the outback. When pastoralists like those at Anna Creek arrived in the mid-19th centuries, they did not find a terra nullius. They entered an inhabited homeland. Early accounts suggest that relations at Anna Creek were complex. In some cases, violence and dispossession occurred on the colonial frontier. In others, gradual accommodation and cooperation took root. Especially under the Warren family's management in the late 1800s and early 1900s, became an unusual example of cross-cultural interaction. Station manager Francis Dunbar Warren, who ran Anna Creek until 1918, formed a partnership with the local Arabana community that was ahead of its time. Frank Warren married an Arabana woman, Nora Baralda, and together they raised a family on the station, a family of mixed Scottish and Arabana heritage who straddled both worlds. This was during an era when authorities and many settlers frowned on such relationships. In fact, Oodnadatta police once attempted to remove the Warren children because of their Aboriginal ancestry, as part of the misguided policies that led to the stolen generations. Famously, Frank Warren stood them down at gunpoint to protect his family and the Arabana people under his care. His defiance allowed the children to stay and grow up on country, steeped in Arabana language and traditions, rather than being taken away. As a result, there was no school on Anna Creek. The children's education was Arabana, taught by the older Aboriginal men. And young Arthur Warren, Frank's son, even underwent traditional initiation rites. This blending of communities meant that traditional knowledge found its way into station operations. Frank Warren was known to consult Arabana elders on how to live and work sustainably in the land. He learned the locations of hidden springs and soakage wells from them, and he even picked up their language, peppering his journals with Arabana words for animals and places. One charming anecdote tells of an Aboriginal stockman trying to report a broken windmill pump. He told Frank in his language that the kutha takali puntaka, literally the stick that hits the water, was broken, which puzzled Frank until another elder explained it meant the pump rod had snapped. With that translation, they rushed to fix the windmill and restore the water flow. This story illustrates how communication and mutual learning were vital. Frank Warren's respect for Arabana knowledge helped the station thrive. He understood that surviving in this harsh country required listening to those who knew it intimately. In turn, he provided jobs, rations, and a relative safe haven for Aboriginal families at a time when many were displaced from their lands. When the Warrens sold Anna Creek in 1918, Frank used his share to purchase nearby Finnis Springs Station, specifically to create a refuge for Arabana people and his family, so they could remain on their ancestral country. Indeed, dozens of Arabana men, women, and children relocated with him, a testament to the bonds formed at Anna Creek. Today, the legacy of the Arabana at Anna Creek is acknowledged and continuing. In 2012, the Arabana people won formal native title recognition over a vast area of their traditional lands, over 68,000 square kilometers of northern South Australia. This legal recognition means the Arabana have rights to access and use the land for traditional purposes and to be consulted on developments. Anna Creek Station, as part of that domain, now operates under agreements that respect Aboriginal heritage sites and involve the Arabana Aboriginal Corporation in land management decisions. Traditional owners visit sites like Panki Waruna, Strangway Springs, which lies on Anna Creek's lease, to perform cultural maintenance and ensure sacred places are protected. There is also a growing appreciation for how traditional ecological knowledge can complement modern pastoral practices. Aboriginal knowledge of weather patterns, animal behavior, and sustainable harvesting can inform station management. For instance, the Arabana have long known how to find and preserve water in desert landscapes, using techniques like scoop holes in dry creek beds and reading signs in nature that signal water, certain bird calls, frog appearances, etc. They practiced a form of fire stick farming, controlled burning to rejuvenate plant growth and manage wildlife, which is increasingly recognized as a valuable tool for landscape health. While cattle stations historically suppressed fires to protect pasture, now there's interest in how controlled burns might reduce bushfire risk and promote fresh grass shoots. Some Indigenous rangers and stockmen are working on neighboring properties, bringing these skills to the pastoral industry. Another aspect of traditional intersection is seen in art and storytelling. The vast openness of Anna Creek and its neighbors has inspired Aboriginal artists and elders to share stories about that country. Tales of ancestral beings, such as the Arabana stories of the giant snakes and birds that formed the land, tie directly to real features like waterholes and hills, offering a spiritual connection to places on the station. This cultural context adds depth to the way modern operators view the land. Rather than a blank slate for grazing, it's recognized as a land rich with heritage. The Williams family, current owners of Anna Creek, have shown respect to this heritage by preserving historical sites like the Peak Telegraph Station ruins and consulting on the protection of significant sites. The old telegraph route that runs through Anna Creek, connecting Adelaide to Darwin in the 19th century, itself followed Aboriginal pathways between water sources. Walking that line today, one literally steps in the footprints of both pioneers and ancient Aboriginal travelers. In summary, the Indigenous history of Anna Creek Station is a powerful subtext to its operations. It reminds us that the Outback was never empty. It carries the memory and wisdom of its first peoples. Modern station life, with all its machinery and science, is enriched by this traditional knowledge. As one Arabana elder, Reg Dodd, eloquently put it, his grandfather, Frank Warren, succeeded at Anna Creek because he took advice from senior Arabana people about the things he needed to understand in order to live and work in Arabana country. Today, that lesson resonates more than ever. Working with the land's ancient rhythms, rather than against them, is key to enduring in this extreme environment. Stewards of the Outback. Environment and sustainability. Operating in such a fragile environment comes with a profound responsibility. The open rangelands of Anna Creek Station might seem vast and inexhaustible, but they are ecologically delicate. Thin soils, scant rainfall, and slow-growing vegetation mean that overuse or mismanagement can cause lasting damage. From dust storms born of eroded topsoil to the loss of native species that once thrived alongside the cattle. Over the years, those running Anna Creek have learned the importance of sustainable practices to ensure the land remains productive for future generations. One key aspect of sustainability here is water management. The station sits atop portions of the Great Artesian Basin, one of the world's largest groundwater reservoirs. Historically, pastoralists drilled bores into this pressurized aquifer to create flowing wells, a boon for watering livestock in arid areas. But these bores, if left uncontrolled, can flow continuously and waste huge volumes of water, as well as reduce pressure that feeds natural springs. In recent decades, Anna Creek, like many stations, participated in initiatives to cap free-flowing bores and install piping. This means water is now channeled only where and when needed, dramatically reducing waste. The station also uses solar-powered pumps on many wells, an eco-friendly choice that replaces old diesel engines and windmills. Solar pumps draw water during sunny days into storage tanks, which then gravity feed to troughs. This not only cuts fuel usage and emissions, but also allows fine-tuned control. Tanks have float valves that stop overflow, and remote telemetry can alert the manager if a tank is low or a pump malfunctions. These upgrades, part of the Williams family's improvements, ensure that every precious drop of water is used wisely, supporting cattle and wildlife without unnecessary depletion of the aquifer. Grazing management is another critical piece. With such low carrying capacity, overgrazing is a constant concern. The station is divided into enormous paddocks, and rotating cattle between them helps prevent any single area from being eaten down to bare ground. In drought periods, managers make the tough call to destock early, selling or adjusting, temporarily moving cattle elsewhere before the range is ruined. This was seen in the 2000s drought when Anna Creek removed most cattle to protect the land. While economically painful, it was an environmentally responsible move, allowing the vegetation to rebound when rains returned. The vast size of Anna Creek can actually be a benefit here. If one section gets overgrazed, cattle can be shifted 50 or 100 kilometers away to areas that might catch a stray storm. Satellite imagery and aerial surveys nowadays assist in monitoring pasture conditions across the station's expanse, guiding these decisions. The station also contends with invasive species and pests. Wild dingoes remain part of the ecosystem. They once devastated sheep flocks, which is why Anna Creek gave up sheep in the 19th century. Today, cattle are less vulnerable. A calf might fall prey to dingoes, but mature cows can defend themselves. So dingoes are not eradicated completely. In fact, some landholders acknowledge dingoes can help keep kangaroo populations in check, which might otherwise overgraze the scant grass. Nonetheless, the station must manage dingoes to prevent losses, using measures like baiting or exclusion fencing on calving paddocks when needed. Other feral animals like rabbits, camels, and wild horses pose challenges too. Rabbits, introduced in Australia, compete with livestock for any green shoot. Camels and brumbies, feral horses, roam the outback and can foul waterholes or break fences. Anna Creek's remoteness means feral camels occasionally wander through. In such cases, station workers might coordinate with professional shooters or round up efforts to cull them humanely and reduce environmental stress. On a positive note, the station's water bores inadvertently support native fauna. Kangaroos, emus, and birds rely on man-made troughs during dry times. It's not uncommon on a dawn patrol to see kangaroos gathering around a bore drain for a drink alongside the cattle, or flocks of pink galas and corellas swarming in to sip at a trough. Wildlife conservation and station operations can go hand in hand. The heritage-listed Strangways Springs and Peak Telegraph Station ruins on Anna Creek are not only historic European sites, but also ecologically significant, because the natural springs there create rare wetland oases in the desert. These springs support unique aquatic life and are culturally important to Aboriginal people. The station, recognizing this, has to balance cattle access with preserving these sensitive spots. Often this means fencing off the immediate spring area to prevent trampling, while still allowing controlled watering points nearby for stock. Government and conservation groups have worked with stations like Anna Creek on programs to fence and protect Great Artesian Basin springs, given their importance for biodiversity. Sustainable practice also includes soil conservation. The station avoids running vehicles or cattle in certain fragile areas, like easily erodible sand dunes, and uses graders to strategically divert water flow on tracks, preventing gully erosion during the occasional downpour. On the energy front, off-grid operations like Anna Creek are increasingly turning to renewable energy. While diesel generators long powered homesteads, now many stations use solar arrays and battery systems for at least part of their electricity, reducing reliance on fuel deliveries. The relentless sun that beats down on Anna Creek is being harnessed not just for pumps, but for lights and refrigeration as well. Perhaps the greatest environmental challenge ahead is climate change. Projections suggest that Central Australia may experience even more erratic rainfall and intense heat in coming decades. For a place that already survives on the margins of viability, this is a serious concern. The current stewards of Anna Creek are aware that adaptability will be key. This could mean investing in more water-efficient technologies, shifting herd genetics toward even more drought-tolerant breeds, and cooperating in regional climate adaptation research. Fortunately, the station's history is essentially one long story of adaptation. If the people of Anna Creek have proven anything, it's that they can adjust to harsh new realities and innovate to meet them. From windmills in the 1880s to solar pumps in the 2020s, from horseback mustering to drone monitoring in the future. In summary, environmental stewardship at Anna Creek Station is about working with nature's limits. The outback demands humility. Those who fail to respect it do not last long. Through measured stocking, water conservation, pest control, and modern tech, Anna Creek's managers strive to keep a balance, to raise beef for the world while treading lightly on the land. It's an ongoing effort, aided by both science and the traditional wisdom of those who know this country deeply. If successful, their reward is a sustainable station that can endure another century of extremes,